What's up, guys? I'm Landon from Shoeware, and today we're putting the newest models from Kyrie Irving's most recent signature shoes with Nike head to head to see how they compare. But really quick, if this is your first time checking us out, feel free to drop a follow or subscribe wherever you're watching and give this video a like. We would greatly appreciate that. So looking at the box and the price, this is the first box and colorway for this new Kyrie 8 design. So I'm not sure if they're all going to follow the same exact look. You're going to see some Kyrie text show up inside of an oval pattern. And, this is where it gets kind of tricky because you either have a sideways 8 or an infinity sign. So Nike has the grade school sizes labeled as the Kyrie Infinity. But, if you look it up on GOAT or just like most other retailers online, it's going to say Kyrie 8. So I'm just assuming that this is going to be adding to his shoe line. But I also believe that this is all to kind of pay tribute to the late great Kobe Bryant, who wore number 8 on the court before, of course, changing it to 24 because, Kyrie, he trained with Kobe a lot. So they were really close friends. Might be a little bit of a nod there. But switching it over to the Kyrie 7s, it's a little more simple. You're just going to get a matte black box with his player logo kind of blown up on top. So, really nothing too special as far as the details for either one of these shoe boxes. But as for the price, this is actually the first time I've paid resell, if you want to call it that, to check out the Kyrie 8s early. So I guess they haven't officially released yet, at least not in men's sizing. So I'm not totally sure what the price is going to be. I paid more than what they're going to be for retail. I'll just put it that way. But Nike has the grade school sizes at 110 on their site, but StockX has the retail price for the Kyrie 8s at 120, and that has to be wrong because the Kyrie 7s were 130. So that's going to be what the retail price is for these Kyrie 7s. But with the grade school sizes being 110, there's just no way that Nike's going to sell these for $120. So on Champ's site, they do have a blank Kyrie 8 image that shows these going for 130. So I guess they could stay the same as the Kyrie 7. So at least two middle of the pack shoes as far as the retail price. All right, so doing a quick rundown for the appearance of these shoes and starting off with the colorways. Today we're checking out the Nike Kyrie 8 or the Kyrie Infinity in this aluminum colorway versus the simple Kyrie 7 in this team black and white. So I'm not really going to go back and forth with the Kyrie 8 to Infinity, so I'm just going to stick with calling these the Kyrie 8 since, I'm pretty positive that this is adding to his shoe line with following the Kyrie 7s, 6-7s. I think this is the 8, but before actually getting into the shoes, if you remember, Kyrie came out a while back and he said that he hated his upcoming shoe and he just wasn't going to wear it. This was all happening months ago. It was kind of during all the crazy vaccine stuff that was going around whenever he was trying to decide if he was going to get the vaccine, if he was going to play or not play. But I guess they must have changed the model or something because, obviously they did end up releasing. And, honestly, I am a fan of the design. So this is one of 3 or so colorways that are on the market right now. But as for structure, all of the shoes in his line have kind of looked similar just as far as the height is concerned, even dating all the way back to the Kyrie 1. So I know some lines like to play around with the height a little bit more. You see some low tops and some mid tops in the KD line. Same thing for the LeBrons, but I guess you do have a low version for the Kyries too, like the Kyrie 4 low and different stuff like that. But in general, I think this Kyrie 8 looks a little closer to the Kyrie 6 with more of a curved midsole instead of that shark tooth design that you're going to get over here. But the heel design does remind me of the Dame 7s or a Don issue 2 with that wavy pattern that you get back there. And it's pretty sweet. That's one of my favorite pieces about this model. But the specific colorway is going to give these an hourglass design that shows up on the right tongue, and then you're going to have an X or a crossing pattern that runs under the laces and also a little bit on the outside that has a really cool look, but it's also going to have a functional purpose that I am about to hit on. But parts of the upper are also going to be see-through, so your foot can breathe. It's a little tougher to look through it on this design because there's a lot of colors going on. But, yeah, a really clean look to this year's model. And, after all, Kyrie is back on the court part-time. So, at least we should start to see the official release with some more colorways coming soon. But for the Kyrie 7s, I'm kind of indifferent on this design. It's a basic colorway today, so there's obviously going to be nothing to talk about there. But these are going to have that shark tooth design like I was just talking about. It does show up on a few of his lines. I know it's on the Kyrie 4s. It shows up on some other ones too. But you're also going to get some lace locks up around these laces that are going to make out the number 11, which is the number he wears for the Brooklyn Nets for away games only. I'm just messing around. I'm not trying to bash Kyrie. I don't really have any type of opinion on like this whole situation that's going on because, you know, after all, this is a basketball shoe review and like the dude can just straight up ball. But you're going to see that he has his signature also show up on the heel. And then other colorways, they kind of have an eye pattern that show up back there. But like I said, this is the team version of the Kyrie 7. So definitely going to get a really simple look. But, you know, it's still not bad. But I would still say that I like the Kyrie 8 a little bit better just from my opinion.
Yes, out of eyes trying to put me on a t-shirt. Shorty want me so bad, do you need?
All right, so now looking at the performance and the materials aspect for these shoes to see how they hold up on the court, I'll start off with the cushioning first. So for the Kyrie 7s, these are going to feature a large Air Zoom Turbo unit that's going to be in the forefoot or like just the front of the shoe. And you can actually see it labeled kind of in that speckled portion that extends up over that shark tooth design. And, you know, this unit's going to be curved and like to kind of bend in multiple directions. And, you know, that's what a lot of the comfort's going to rely on. It's going to be the front portion of that shoe. It's not going to make them super soft, but, you know, especially in the heel, there's not really back there. But the responsiveness is definitely still there on the Kyrie 7s. But, you know, switching it to the Kyrie 8s, these things are actually packed with a lot more cushioning features than what we've kind of seen for Kyrie's line before. So you're going to have a Phylon midsole that is going to be lightweight and responsive. That's what handles most of the, you know, impact protection. And it does a really good job whenever you're landing from your shot or just landing from a jump in general. But, you know, lately on the Kyrie lines, the cushion units, they're like either in the front of the shoe or in the back of the shoe, but not generally in both. But, you know, like I just said, the Kyrie 7s are going to have it in that front unit, but this Kyrie 8 is actually going to get it in both sections of the shoe. So in the back, you're going to get more of a generic zoom unit that shows up in the heel, but it is going to be better than nothing. And, you know, you can actually see it through this infinity logo or this 8. Nah, we're leaving that debate out of it, but through this little 8 pattern on the bottom of the shoe. So you can also see it if you take it out. But then switching it to the front of the shoe, the forefoot has a zoom strobel unit, and you actually see it labeled on the outsole in that traction pattern. It has like FF zoom strobel for like forefoot zoom strobel unit. So these are actually super bouncy. Like you can literally feel that unit compress whenever you're just kind of jumping around and playing in this shoe. So I haven't played in these like in all the shoes from Kyrie's line. I did miss a few in the middle there, like the 4s and the 5s. Didn't really play in those much, but honestly, I think this might be the most comfy shoe in Kyrie's line so far.
Yes, out of eyes trying to put me on a t-shirt. Shorty want.
So for the materials and the support, there is a slight change in the materials between these two models. So the Kyrie 8s are going to go with what most basketball shoes on the upper now have, with some, you know, some lightweight textiles. So there are some benefits to that. So like I said, it keeps the shoe super light, also going to make it really breathable. So some lines like to use knit, like I know the LeBron 18s did. I'm pretty sure the Curry 8s and probably the 9s did too. But I just think the textiles feel a little bit more secure just thanks to that plastic. Like I know for the LeBron 18s, I did struggle keeping my foot inside of this shoe. But the Kyrie 8s also have some nice materials just on the back half of the shoe, kind of around the ankle. And that's going to be like a leather material there. It's going to fall more in line with the Kyrie 6 than the Kyrie 7s because, you know, these Kyrie 7s are pretty much going to have textiles covering the shoe from the front to the back. But for the 8s, I mean, you're going to get an X look that runs underneath the shoelaces. That's not really there for a functional purpose, but the little black wings that are on the outside actually are. So those kind of signify some straps that are going to run all the way around the back of your heel, around your ankle, and it's really going to give you some added support for ankle stability. And then the two straps that are kind of running forwards, this is where it's a little bit interesting because those are going to run up around your toe to kind of pull your entire foot together towards the inside. So the one thing that's cool about this design is that light blue line that kind of runs around the toe box. It just kind of signifies where that strap is going. It shows where it begins and where it ends. So, you know, I thought that was a really cool piece. But, I mean, honestly, good support for both of these shoes. You're going to have those lace locks on the Kyrie 7 that is going to be there for some added lockdown. And then the materials on the Kyrie 7, they are a little bit different than the 8s, but, you know, honestly, they do play the same way. And I've never really struggled with support on Kyrie's shoe line at all. I mean, both of these shoes should have you covered.
Yes, out of eyes trying to put me on a t-shirt. Shorty want.
All right, so to finish off with traction, we are going to have two different traction patterns between these models. So the pattern doesn't have, you know, the traditional herringbone look on the Kyrie 8s, but it is kind of close. it's honestly really similar to the Dame 7 extended play series from last year. I mean, the outsole is also going to extend out just a little bit, kind of where you see that lightning bolt pattern that outlines like the inside of that traction design. So I also bought a pair of these with an XDR outsole, so this is supposed to be much more durable rubber. I do think the traction feels a little bit better on these Kyrie 8s just compared to the Kyrie 7s because, you know, like I said, they switched this up and they used a computer generated traction pattern for the Kyrie 7s, and they have a data-driven pattern for the 8s a little bit, but this 7's a little more sporadic and just kind of feels like flipping a coin on if they're going to work well or not for me. Like, you know, surface sometimes is going to play a factor, but these computer-generated designs overall, like I'm just usually not a fan. They don't work all that well for me. I know for like the Giannis zoom-free 3s, whenever I play in those, like it's just way too inconsistent. But, you know, neither one of these shoes are going to be super sticky. There are some shoe lines out there with some better grip than these like Kyrie 7 or Kyrie 8, but they're definitely still playable. But, you know, as for sizing, you're going to get a true to size fit for both of these shoes. Maybe a slightly narrow design, so you probably could get away with going a half size up for more room. But I mean, as for the length, that's about right for both. All right, so for the final ratings and starting off with the appearance, you know, I didn't really love the look for the Kyrie 7 model, but you know, I honestly didn't dislike it either. But I will say I'm more of a fan for this Kyrie 8. I mean, they have some cool touches on here, so I am going to side with them for this section. But moving on for cushioning, you know, like I said, this Kyrie 8 might be the softest shoe in his line up until this point. You're going to have those cushioning units in both the front and the back of the shoe, but you only get it in the front for the Kyrie 7, so the 8s will take this category. But moving on to materials, you are going to get a lot of the same things between these shoes, which is going to be mainly textiles, but the 8s do have that small leather portion in the back up around the ankle, so that along with the straps that kind of run along the shoe, I just think it's a really nice you know, material setup for this shoe. So they are going to take that section, but it's still not by much. But moving on to the support, I will keep that section as a tie because, you know, I haven't really had any issues with like the lateral containment or just any type of support from his line on his shoes. So they do stay the same way here, and it's always nice to know that you're going to be covered on any type of movements in a shoe line. But to finish off with traction, you know, it's not really a strong suit for Kyrie's line. There's definitely some other ones out there that do it better. Like, you know, the KDs, the PG5s have a way better traction setup, but they did make some changes between this model. I kind of want to lean towards the Kyrie 8s, but it's just not a wide enough separation. And, you know, I've still only played in these like a handful of times, so I will leave that section as a tie, but that is going to make the winner of this performance battle this year's Kyrie 8 or Kyrie Infinity shoe. So it's honestly a super cool design, although, you know, I don't really factor in the performance of the shoe, of course, for a performance review, but the cushioning is going to be where they won me over. I mean, it is noticeably softer to just move around in, and aside from the cushion, I think these are just like a hair better in all other categories. You know, even maybe for the support, because you do get those straps wrapping around your entire foot. I thought that was a pretty cool piece, but I mean, there's nothing really to knock on the Kyrie 7s, but nothing really to praise on it all that much either, so that's why they came up short. So if you're interested in buying one or both of these shoes and you want to support our channel, we do have an affiliate link in the description that gives us a little commission that goes, you know, back into reviewing more shoes. So feel free to check that out. But that wraps up this performance comparison. Feel free to leave a comment below if you like this video, or just let us know any other shoes you want to see go head to head. But until next review, I'm Landon from Shoeware. Peace.
Yes, I out of eyes trying to put me on a t-shirt. Shorty want